All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside in Tennis podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Michals, on this another edition of this show presented by the Believe Network. A lot of great content on Believe, and this podcast is available on all your platforms as well. It's an interesting time in the tennis season. Everyone's switching to clay. We're on the road to Roland Garros, and getting the chance to talk to a current player is always a treat on this show. Someone that's made a name in this sport already in her young career, is on the comeback trail as well. Has been to a couple U.S. Open doubles finals, got a career high ranking of number 54 in singles, 8 doubles titles to be precise too. Caty McNally joining the show. Caty, welcome to the show. I've been looking forward to chatting with you, so I appreciate you spending time on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. And yeah, whenever I can find time, I love to do things like these, anything to kind of spread my story and kind of explain what I've gone through and just, yeah, I think it's really cool. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I know I saw you on Second Serve with my friends, Nick Monroe, Tracy Austin, of course. So I knew this was a good one. And I'm just glad they didn't use all my questions, just some of them, So,
Yeah.
but no, it's really cool to hear. And obviously your origin story where a lot of this starts. But I wanted to just kind of start with where you're at right now. I mentioned the comeback trail, which we can get into, but how have you been processing the last couple months where you've practiced, you've built to this moment, but it's taken, a lot out of you to get to this point? Have you had a moment to kind of refresh and reflect on where you've been so far?
Yeah, I think, this whole journey on this comeback has really just given me a whole new perspective on the sport and just realizing really how grateful I am to be able to play again. After such a big surgery and an injury, you never know. Obviously, you're gonna, I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna go about my rehab just like I do anything else. I'm gonna give it 110%. So I knew that I was gonna get back to playing, but when you get back, you don't realize like the mental side of things, relearning how to retrust everything, relearning how to like retrust my forehand and my serves and so many shots that I didn't think, that was going to happen. But yeah, being back out here, I'm just extremely grateful. And yeah, at this point, like I have nothing to lose. I've kind of already hit rock bottom with this injury. So now I get to work my way back up and I'm starting to feel really good. I think I'm in the best shape of my life that I've ever been in my career. So that's super exciting. Just continuing to work hard in the gym
Mhm.
and be at a point where I can get a lot of reps on the court. There was a time where I didn't feel like I could get out on the court and get a lot of reps because I was just trying to like manage my body. So
Yeah.
now I'm getting to a point where I feel like I can go out and practice and continue to actually get better at little things whereas in the past I just kind of wasn't able to do that. So
That's like the blessing in disguise, right? Because even whether you're healthy or injured, the tennis season's so long, there's not time to really maybe work on your serve or areas where you can take advantage of the time that you have not playing. Like it's in a way a blessing in disguise.
for sure. Yeah, no, the season is so long and coming back, I'm like, wow, nothing has changed. Like everything is the
Yeah.
exact same, all the tournaments and a lot of the people. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely have just a better perspective. Being out on the court, I think I have a healthier mindset. I've gone in a little bit deeper into working with a mental coach and
Mhm.
doing that side of things as well. And I think that's allowed me to just yeah enjoy this process and work on those types of things, the mental side that maybe
Mhm.
I've struggled with in the past.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point you bring up. Everyone talks about, and obviously there's the fatigue of being in match shape and getting back to playing, but the mental, whether it's mental fatigue or building back your mental strength, is tough too. There's no replication right from playing a match and what it takes out of you on the mental side.
For sure, for sure. I think I've always thought that way as well. Is you can't replicate a match, you can't replicate the fatigue it puts on your body, on you mentally. So the best thing you can do is just go out and do it. And I think for me, I'm just looking for matches, ways to put myself in different scenarios to try to problem solve, to get
Yeah.
better, to string matches together and to see how my body holds up. And I've been able to do that, I think pretty well this year so far, just trying to get with the tournaments I've played, being able to get multiple matches and kind of just push myself
Mhm.
mentally, proving to myself that, I can do this. I can play multiple matches in a day. I can play 5 matches in 5 days. There was a point back, September, November, I really questioned how am I going to be able to do that. I remember breaking down in physical therapy and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get to this point of playing. I'm getting too sore after I think mentally I just was in a tough spot. And so now I'm kind of just like breaking down all these walls that I was scared. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially knowing what it takes to get to this level and play high and compete at a high level. You know how much it's taking out of you. It's very, very inspiring to see where you've gotten. I do want to start with the origin story. We love people from Ohio on this show, obviously, but
Yeah.
you were kind of brought up. Your younger sister, your brother played at Ohio State. Your mom played. Was that kind of where you were just guided into with the tennis world? It seems like it was destined in a way that you were going to play tennis and see how far you could go.
Yeah, I mean, I played basketball actually as well until seventh grade. I really was never like forced tennis upon, like picking or choosing between the two. But
Right.
I remember that I was like, okay, I want to go with tennis. And obviously, growing up in a tennis household and my mom working at a tennis club, I was always wanting to spend so much time there. I was always, when there's a court six with a wall on the side, and whenever it was open, I was like, okay, 2.5 hours. I'm like there hitting forehands and backhands all day. And my brother was definitely a massive inspiration for me, just looking up to him, seeing him going and playing junior tournaments, then him going to play, the bigger national events and then soon ITFs. He was definitely a big inspiration for me. And yeah, he just was always and always has been so supportive of my journey and just believing in me and always giving me positive energy. So, yeah, I think, if he wasn't playing tennis, I don't think I'd be where I am. And I know that kind of sounds like cliche and everyone says that, but like I actually mean it. I don't think that I would be the competitor I am today. I don't think I'd be maybe even like the doubles player in the volleyer I am today because he was blasting balls at me when I was like 10 years old and he was taking overheads at my head. So I had to like learn how to like put my racket up and not back up or else I was literally going to get drilled. So a lot of credit to
Yeah.
him even on that. And my mom, she's done an amazing job with, she coached my brother and I, and just from such a young age, just allowing us to just use our game and our creativity. And I
Right.
think she helped build that with allowing us to hit slices and drop shots and tweeners and all the shots in the game at such a young age. She never was like, oh, it's the wrong shot. It was
Right.
always about learning and, using the right shot at the right time. So credit to her for building such a variety, I think, in both of our games.
Yeah, I was gonna pull that up. That tweeners are a part of your game. You're one of the few, I'd say, few players consistently on the WTA that can go to that shot and hit it. And
Yeah.
there's been a few and
Sometimes it's not the best.
yeah,
Sometimes, hopefully it's like more of a last minute or last second, I have nothing else better to hit.
yeah.
So hopefully it's like the last option, not the first.
A 300 hitter in baseball is an all-star, so that's how I look. If you're 3 out of 10 on hitting tweener
Yeah,
winners,
that's true.
that's pretty good. So
Yeah, that's
um,
that's true.
the tough love from your brother is funny. It's also the little sibling theory where you came back probably
Yeah.
wanting more. So, but
Yeah.
the thing you said about basketball was interesting, and that was your decision. Like you decided in about seventh grade that okay, I
Yeah.
want to take tennis. I want to make this the focal point, and that's
Yeah.
like not being forced into it. It's a lesson for a lot of parents is that was you saying I want to make this commitment, not the other way around.
Yeah, for sure. And again, yeah, shout out to my parents because I think they were always just so supportive of that
Hmm.
and they never really pushed me. And I think that's such a big thing for parents, for kids that are in sports, is just to allow them to play the sports, allow them to play three or four sports. And eventually, I think they're going to choose one. And that's what I did. The schedule started to get really tricky because basketball practice in seventh grade was like after school and that's when tennis was and I just knew immediately. I was like, no, like I'm going to tennis, I want to do that. It was never like you're going to play tennis, you're done with basketball. So I had the option and I think that's really important for a lot of kids and a lot of parents.
It certainly is. And you mentioned your mom, who shout out to, what she's done with Neighbors McNally for her career too, but playing for a parent. And it sounds like, I mean, obviously there's going to be good days and bad days, which you don't have to get into, but you had a great relationship. And it's another good lesson to have. Like working with a parent has its downside, but you were able to. And if you'd speak to that, what it was like working with your mom and having her develop your game.
Yeah. Yeah, so my mom, like, even since I was a young girl at home, and even when I was traveling and I was working with another coach, until like a couple years back, I was always working with my mom back home, and I think she just knows my game best. Like, she basically built the game, so she knows kind of all the good and the bad, and what ticks me off and what doesn't. And yeah, I mean, definitely think it's a balancing act, and it can work. There's so many good players that are coached by their parents, and it's all about finding how it works for you and not comparing to anyone else. The worst thing you can do is
Yeah.
compare maybe what you see, because you never know what's going on behind closed doors. You
Right.
never know what someone's real coaching relationship is. But
Hmm.
I'm super blessed to have her on my side and traveling again with me. It's been great. She just honestly makes me feel super relaxed. I feel like I'm enjoying it. And it's nice to kind of have that peace of home, when I'm traveling. But I think we've made a good balancing of, like, when we're on the court, like, it's coaching. When we're off the court, like, maybe we'll talk about the practices, the matches, but then we move on, and we can kind of just have like that mother-daughter
Hmm.
relationship, which I think is really cool. And yeah, I think that's super important to anyone out there that, is doing that, is you have to be able to separate it. You can't always be bringing the tennis in. You can't
Yeah.
be always at, dinner with your parents and being like, "Oh, you lost, you did this in your practice today." Like, you have to be able to let go and separate,
Mhm.
and I think that's a big part of it.
When it was through her, maybe your own, inkling, you developed that style, right? Your attacking nature, which I don't think is very common in a lot of ways in tennis right now. I
Yeah.
saw also who your idol was, and that kind of makes a lot of sense too. Like, okay, Roger Federer is there, and maybe there's some inklings there. But how did you really, notice that you can succeed being this attacking player?
Yeah, I think for me, again, my mom, and shout out to the coach that I was working with for many years, is they were always just being so positive about
Yeah.
my game style, being like, "You have such an amazing game, use it." And I think a big thing is learning through failure. This
Yeah.
game style that I've continued to build has cost me a lot of tough moments and big matches, because it can be tricky having multiple shots. Instead of just hitting a backhand all the time, I might choose to hit the dropper or hit the slice. And, I've had to learn a lot, like, hey, that's the wrong time, use it at the right time. But my mom was always like, "You have so many weapons," and that's such a cool thing, and not very many players have that. The game, like you said, is everyone's trying to hit the ball so hard and flat. So to be able to have these tools, like being able to hit high and heavy, to slice, to drop shot, and I've seen it obviously
Yeah.
playing. It causes a lot of problems for a lot of these girls, and it's just continuing to build it and to believe it, and learning, like, hey, yeah, that wasn't the right time, and sometimes it is the right time. Sometimes you get away with hitting a drop shot when it's not the best shot. But I think just having people that continue to push me to play that game style has allowed me to continue to grow. I've never had any coaches that are like, "Hey, you need to back off and stand 5 feet behind the baseline and grind." Like, okay, I can do that. I can defend, I think, pretty well, but that's at the end of the day, that's not going to win you a lot of matches against the big players. You have to make them uncomfortable. You have to stick to your game, and that's my game. I have to stick to that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to, I might play well grinding 5 feet behind the baseline, like winning one or two matches here and there, but that's,
Yeah.
again, like, it's going to take a toll on my body,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not actually like being a better tennis player. I'm not actually who's Caty McNally. That's not my
Right.
game. And yeah, like, Federer was a massive role model for me, and I'm sure that he failed and hit a lot
Yeah.
of wrong shots at the wrong time, but obviously he had great coaches and people around him that built a beautiful game, and he was able to flourish and just strive. And yeah, so hopefully I can, yeah,
Well,
have like 1/millionth of his career. That'd be cool.
it's everybody in every industry wants 1 million of his
Yeah.
career. No, and look, that's you said that like frustrating your opponent. That's the best compliment maybe you can get in tennis is wow, that player really frustrates everyone out there. They don't like playing against her. So
Yeah.
it's a compliment you're all striving for. other side of it too, like you have this storied junior career, make the Wimbledon final in doubles a few years in a row, 3 years in a row. Um, we don't have to get into the actual matches, but you made a lot of finals is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. But was that what pushed you to turn pro as a teenager, as a 16, 17-year-old and not go this college route, seeing how you could excel at the junior level?
Yeah, I think as, when I was younger and I continued to play the ITFs internationally and just getting into the Grand Slams, I think then I was able to prove to myself, I got to the Wimbledon finals, I got to the French Open Junior finals in singles and then won the doubles there. I think I was able to prove to myself that obviously I can play at this level, but I was never really thinking too much in that moment about like the pros because it just felt so far off. I just never, I guess, in general, saw myself going to college. Even from a young age, I don't know. I think I always had a dream of going pro and playing professional tennis and I never saw myself in a college environment. I never was like I want to go to this school. I didn't have really a dream school. I mean, obviously I've always been a big Ohio State fan and loved watching football and all the sports, but I never actually was like I want to be an Ohio State tennis player. And so I think that was a big part of it. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to be in a college environment. I didn't see myself on a team. And I think as I continue to get older, like 16, 17, that's when I was like, okay, I'm ready to make the commitment because yeah, it's a huge commitment. And even at 17, comparing to myself now, like I'm such a different person and a different player. And mentally, I think I've just learned so much from the tour
Right.
and just playing week in and week out, year after year. So I'm very happy with the decision. But yeah, in the moment, it can be really difficult, and I think that's just, turning pro at a young age. It's a tough decision. And I think I had supportive parents, and that was a big part of it. And they believed in me and supported me. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of what the average like 17, 18-year-old girl, like her decision making on a daily basis when you're a college student versus being a pro. It's a tough commitment to make, but if you're all in and like you said, had that team behind you, had a parent in the household that understood what the pro game was like,
Yep.
it's a tough one, but it gets you to that spot. Were there moments though when you had that first year, like your rookie year, so to speak, where it was like, whoa, this is different. This is, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
I feel like the rookie year is like the best year. I mean, you're like fresh on the tour. You have nothing to lose in anything. Everything is so new to you. You don't know anyone. You're just swinging. Like I feel like the rookie year is yeah, again, like it's great. I think the second year and the third year is when it gets a little bit tougher. I think I got to a point where I turned pro in like 2017 and then, 2020 was COVID. So it was really tough for me. I mean, I think I almost broke top 100 right before COVID in like March of
Yeah.
2020. And yeah, I ended up, obviously we had the long break of tennis and then in July I came back and it just felt like in that moment, I'd have to obviously go back and look. It just felt like all my points were coming off like at that.
Yeah.
It just felt like every week points were coming off and it
Right.
was super tough. So, I mean, yeah, having the COVID pandemic was not ideal in my second and third year. And I think my ranking went from like almost top 100 to like 250, 260. And I was in a pretty like bad place mentally. I was not happy. I was really struggling to find joy on the tennis court at all. And luckily, yeah, I was just able to like kind of be like, okay, I need to take initiative for like the small things, and that's all I can do.
Yeah.
If I can just control what I can control in the little things and try to do those things better than I am, like I think things are going to start to turn, and they did. And it was really tough, but eventually I went from 250 to 180 to 150, and then I had a great year in like 2022. At the end of the year, I was like got to the quarters of a 500, played EGA, and then went and played some ITFs, won a 125, broke top 100. Like things started to turn, but I
Yeah.
just I just started to like take initiative of the little things and
Right.
trying to do like what I can control, do a little bit more with that. And that was a massive part for me. So, I definitely, the ranking system was a little up and down for me. It never has felt like it's just been like this like
Yep.
uphill thing for me. But I think through everything, through all the ups and downs, I've just
Mm.
gotten a lot stronger from it. It builds
Yeah.
a lot of character. You figure out who you really are. And if you can get through things like that, then you get through anything. So.
Really inspiring stuff here with Caty McNally on the Inside in Tennis podcast, talking about her career on the comeback trail, starting 2025 strong and solid and looking as good as ever. But I do want to take it back. I want to go back to that U.S. Open night against Serena Williams as a 17-year-old. And I wanted
Yeah.
to ask firstly, before we get into it, what do you remember about that day? Like how it started going into it? Because the history books are filled with players that no one knew about and no one knew
Yeah.
after that just lost before they came out there. So what was your process like the morning going into the match, how you kind of kept your head in it?
Yeah. Well, I actually have to like back up to like 2 days before is like my first round match. I
Yeah.
ended up beating like Tamia Baczynski, who had a great career on the WTA.
Yeah.
Like it was a tough first round. And I remember, I think I was in the locker room looking at the TV, and it was Sharapova versus Serena Williams first round. And I was like, I play the winner of that
And
match.
that's when
So
you
no
found out,
matter
right?
what,
Like that's where you, that, because you didn't look at the draw, you found out like right then.
I think I might have looked at the
Okay.
draw, but once I won the match, I'm like, okay, wait, this is really happening. Like I'm probably gonna play on
Yeah.
Arthur Ashe. Like,
Yeah.
whoa. And then Serena won. Um, I remember the next day was like your day off, kind of like on a slam you play every other day. We went super early in the morning to just hit on Arthur Ashe. And I think I had practiced on it like once, but practicing and like playing day versus night is like completely different. Like I remember walking out for the night match against her, and it was really dark and all the lights were off, and I was like, wait, are they gonna turn these on? Like the lights
Yeah.
were still off when we were at the coin toss, and it felt like we were like in some like NBA game or something, and I was like, finally the lights turned on and it was packed. It was so crowded that match, and I think we followed actually Novak. We were second night match. We ended up
Yeah.
following Novak. And yeah, I mean, I just tried to keep my head down. I think I told myself before the match, just like, keep your head down. Don't look up at her. Because the second you look up at her, you're gonna be like, holy shit, I'm playing Serena Williams. Like, this is
Yeah.
insane. And yeah, I mean, I won the first set. I think I like threw my arms up. I don't even know why I threw my arms up. I think I was just like, it was just pure adrenaline. I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that
Well, you had
because
crowd support too.
then,
Like, and I was going to say as
yeah,
well, like the
yeah,
U.S. Open crowd's awesome. They also
yeah,
love Americans, and they'll show respect to Americans even when they're playing a
yeah.
legend. So that was part of
They
it.
they
You wouldn't have
loved
got
it.
that if you
I
weren't
think,
American.
that was probably part of the reason I
Yeah,
threw my hands
yeah,
up, but the crowd was loving it. They were
hmm
supporting me, which
hmm
was a lot of fun to be able to
yeah,
just, not play against Serena and the whole crowd.
right.
Um, so yeah, I think midway through the second set is when she started to run away with it. She started to play really well, and it was just an amazing experience. And yeah, it's always crazy to talk about it. Like it seems like it was so long ago, but I mean, this story I'll be able to tell my kids one day. And yeah, like I played Serena Williams. I won a set off of her. Not a lot of people can say that. So yeah, definitely one of the best moments of my career so far.
It was very cool to see just any young American do well in that setting, but also how you battled and again taking the set. I do remember that set game. You had to like save a bunch of break points just to serve it out. So it was it's a taste of greatness too, right? Like it's not a contact sport, but you're sharing a field of battle, so to speak, with a great player. And you mentioned having playing Iga before all these other great players. When you get a chance to do that, I'd have to imagine it leaves you wanting more. Like, okay, this is a standard I'm chasing. It's good to know I'm in the same ballpark.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you play those matches, I mean, you're so excited. You're so excited to get out there, and when you're leaving the court, I think you only want more. I think it makes you work harder to get back into those situations more often, especially for me. It's like, wow, I really enjoyed that. Okay, now I need to work harder because I want more of that.
Mhm.
So for sure, I think it's good motivation and always a good time to be able to
Yeah.
play against events against the best players. It means you're doing something right. So.
your match prep too, not just that match, but in general. And I was kind of reading up on it. So if you could walk me through, okay, is there a process that works for you in terms of how much activity you're doing before the day of a match, practicing, your eating schedule, the stuff that the fans don't see, and the rhythm that works for you?
Yeah. I think it always just depends on when the match is. I mean, say I play first on at 11 a.m. I'm probably up at, well, now since the injuries and stuff, I'm like, okay, like I gotta have a long warm up. I gotta
Yeah.
make sure the body's really
Yeah.
ready to go. Gotta make sure all the muscles are warm. Probably warming up for an 11 a.m. match at like 9:30 or 9:45. Probably just doing 30 minutes. I think in the past I was always trying to get like a longer warm up in, and I was kind of like maybe tiring myself out in a warm up, and I was like, a couple years ago I was like, okay, like you need to keep it to like 30 minutes max, and then you're good. Like just warm everything up. It's not about hitting a million serves or anything. So probably warming up, changing, and then yeah, I mean, I probably have about 45 minutes. So now at this point in my career, I'm probably getting a little bit more treatment on my shoulder and elbow
Yeah.
just to make sure everything is feeling good, feeling warm, and probably eating something quick, some toast with peanut butter, a banana, something small, and just staying hydrated. If the matches are later in the day, it's just tricky.
It's
Tennis is
it's
so
it's
tough. There's
crazy.
times where like maybe
Yeah.
you play night match and you play at 7 or 8, so like hey, you play at 7. But there's times where you could be like fifth on after 11, and it's like, okay, I warmed up. I'm gonna warm up at 11, 12 o'clock today. I think that's a good time.
Yeah.
Well, the first match could be in the set and a half at 12 o'clock, and you're like, okay, like I think I warmed up a little bit too early.
Yeah.
Like you just learn to kind of go with the flow. I think the more at ease you can be about things you can't control, like maybe you warm up for a match and then they go to a third set and you're like, okay, like I was really ready to walk out on the court. That just happens way too often,
Yeah.
and that's the way it is. That's the tough thing about our sport. So you just have to be tough, honestly, in this sport. And yeah, if I have a later match, I think if I know I'm playing late in the evening, I might go on site and do like a 30-45 minute hit in the morning, and then just go back to the hotel, relax a little bit, and then head back on site a couple hours before the match and do another, quick warm up and grab a bite to eat, relax a little bit, and then yeah, go out. So really just depends on when you play, and I think everyone has different routines, but you just have to find what works for you.
It's the only sport that you don't even know what time you're actually playing. Like I try to
Yeah.
explain that to people too. And
Yeah.
and that's part of the journey on this. And you made me think of something too, Katie. The new rules, we saw it in effect in Miami about safeguarding the players with late starts. Do you think
Mm.
this was a necessary thing that had to happen? How do you feel about if you were in that position that Novak Djokovic and I think it was Sebastian Korda at the time, that were told, look, you're not going to be playing tonight. It's too late. We're going to be coming back tomorrow. How do you feel about the new rule change?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that situation, it's in that exact situation, it's tough. They've been waiting there all day.
All
They're
day.
ready to go. They've probably warmed up like 4 different times. I'm sure at that point they were like, let's just go out. Like we're already there. We're gonna sleep in the next day, or maybe they had a match the next day. I don't even another match. But I think for this, just the overall health of players, not
Hmm.
putting players on past whatever it is, 10 or 11 p.m. I think it's a smart move. I think, sleep is just as important for our recovery and than it is getting a massage or getting treatment. Like we still need sleep to recover and to perform our best. And I think, yeah, it's tough. You sit around all day and you're put on at 11:30 p.m. with no one there. And there's just been too many times where some players have been kind of given that card, hey, you're the second night match. And over time, I think it just mentally and physically a little bit draining. So I think overall it's a smart move,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, I know that not just singles, but doubles has been a huge part of your story. You've been very successful reaching, the top 10 reaching number 11, excuse me, and 8 doubles titles and playing with a bunch of different partners, which is showing your versatility.
Mhm.
Before getting into that, though, I was hoping you'd clarify or reinforce this story. On this show, I think a year and a half ago, I was chatting with Caty McNally, And I was
Okay.
like, wow, there's this great story about the U.S. Open doubles finalists, Taylor Townsend and Caty McNally. And I'm like, how did you guys how did they become partners? And actually, no, I botched that because I talked to Taylor first, and she's like,
Okay.
Kathy Rinaldi just said, hey, DM Caty McNally and become partners. She's looking for
Yeah.
someone. So that's a real story that Kathy Rinaldi was the matchmaker
Yes,
for
that
that run.
is a real story. That was Taylor and I's second tournament together. We played in Cincinnati, lost first round, and then went into US Open with one match together and then got to the finals. So,
But that shows a lot of things. First of all, like USA Tennis, it seems to me like it's just a tight knit community, and that there's a
yeah.
lot of people working together. The fact that you played one match together and got there. That Kathy Rinaldi's kind of like the godmother of all this too is pretty cool. But playing and reaching a final and doing it, you worked with Coco Gauff. You've had success with Taylor Townsend. Is it hard for you to work with different players and partners, or do you find your game adjusts pretty easily?
I feel like yeah, I would say that I'm like very easy to adjust with whoever I play. Honestly, if I play with someone new, I'm like, what side do you want? I'll play the opposite. Like, you choose the side that you want. And then, if we are not playing well after the first set, we'll switch. We'll figure it out. Um, but I think yeah, I just think I'm super positive to like the partners I play with. I try to encourage them, and I always try to just play with people that are looking to play somewhat of a similar game as I am. It doesn't have to be always like hit and come in, but someone that's looking to be aggressive and to poach and maybe throw in a serve and volley here and there. I think, if you can do that, I'm like, hey, you want to play doubles?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm just super open to trying new things, and yeah, I'm just super relaxed on the doubles court, and I just love it so much that I kind of enjoy it with whoever I play with. And yeah, I've been able to play with a lot of really great partners and do well. So it's awesome.
Yeah, the more I talk to doubles players and they break down what makes successful doubles teams, the less it has to do with tennis. Like it's very funny how it's communication, it's knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, that's
Um,
100% true.
yeah, we'll have to talk to Kathy Rinaldi about the matchmaking thing, see how accurate that is across the board. Maybe not just tennis, but no, there's a lot of different areas too. And I know you have played with players like Coco Gauff, singles success, obviously, but it has proven not just with her, but with other players. Jasmine Paolini, a great doubles player, that successful doubles play can help you as a singles player. And I'm sure you've seen that in your own game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of my career, especially throughout juniors, was I had a lot of success in doubles, especially in juniors, like Wimbledon and US Open junior doubles with Coco. I was having a lot of success in doubles, and my singles was not bad, but it just wasn't at the level of the doubles. I wasn't winning the Grand Slams. And I think, having role model, like people to look up to, like, look, Jack Sock played doubles, did really well in doubles before singles ever came. Sam Stosur, another good example of doubles then singles. So there's so many people across the board that I've been able to kind of like look at their games,
Mhm.
their careers, and be like, okay, like they did it in double. Krejcikova, another amazing
Yeah,
example of like players that, just because you're a doubles player doesn't mean you're not a good like tennis player. Like there's so many
yeah,
good doubles players that are, you're just at the end of the day, like forget about singles and doubles
right.
is just tennis in my opinion. And yeah, my career, a lot of it I've gained a lot of confidence from the doubles court. And it's been a huge part of even building back now, like being able to play, Masters 1000s, doubles, quarterfinals, and just big matches against some of these girls. You get to be out against some of the big players. You get to feel like how their ball is off their racket. You get to play deuce deciding points. Like there's a lot of big moments. You get to hit serves in big moments, second serve maybe down at deuce. Like you're not doing that in singles, second serve deuce point. Like there's a lot of big moments, and I think, doubles only helps my singles. And the more I can play doubles when it's the right time and my body's like feeling good, like I will continue to do it because one, I enjoy it, and two, like it helps my game so much. So I'd rather go out and play doubles and I mean, we make really good money, playing some of these doubles. So then just go like on a practice court and do two cross one line. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather go out and compete and try to win than just go to another day of practice. So
The game's filled with historical champions, John McEnroe, the Williams sisters, that were great singles players that also took doubles seriously. And I think there's a direct correlation as there is now. Well, we're winding down here with Caty McNally on the Inside in Tennis podcast. Very fun chat with an American tennis player who's still accomplishing big things. But fans want to know about the outside stuff, things that interest you, and I saw you're artistic, like you're a draw, you like to draw and express your creative juices a little bit, or is that
yeah,
just an internet rumor?
yeah, I think I have a side of creativity to me for sure. I've gotten a little bit into like some just some drawing that's I don't know, I find it like super relaxing and calming, but I just like to spend my time, I don't know, I'm pretty chill. I say I'm just a chill girl. Like I like to spend my time outside. I like to be in nature. I like to go on like walks and hikes and spend time with family and friends when I'm not playing. I like to be with my dogs. Um, yeah, like if I'm with my friends, like I don't even mind just like hanging out on the couch, like just to spend time with like people that I like. I'm not super into like the big fancy shiny things. I just am kind of
Yeah.
chill, and when I'm home, I just like to be able to relax and enjoy that because the tour itself is already so hectic. So just trying to find things outside of that that allow me to relax and just yeah, be calm.
That's the Midwest chill coming out. All those
Yeah,
less than certain
in the
things.
corn, not in the cornfields though. I'm not out in the cornfields like collecting corn or anything like that. So
No, and I have to imagine. I think you've spoken on this, but being a Cincinnati girl and native, like, did it get any better than throwing out the first pitch for the Reds, and I saw the Cyclones game, the minor league hockey
yeah,
team doing that. It just has to be
yeah,
cool to be recognized and do cool things in your hometown.
yeah. I mean, I love Cincinnati. Such a, it's just such a cool town for sports, and um, they've done such a great job supporting me and allowing me to do things like that, throwing out the first pitch. So much fun. And yeah, going to, the Cyclones game, little things like that, just anyway. And I just love being around other sports. I really enjoy seeing how other professionals go about their business and see, what it's like versus tennis. And so I enjoy doing things like that. But Cincinnati's been nothing but supportive of my career, and I'm so excited that like the tournament is staying and the improvements are going to be incredible. Every outline I've seen is just unbelievable. So I'm so excited to, play in front of my family and friends again this year after kind of just everything the last couple years. It's going to be really exciting.
It's a very cool thing for you to, I guess, selfishly have that huge
Yeah.
home tournament in your backyard that you can
Yeah.
grow up and
I'm very lucky.
yeah, probably inspired you in a lot of ways too. Well, as the tennis, gets racked up for you, is it safe to say you're starting to feel more like yourself? You've gotten through the dark days of,
Yeah.
the bad thoughts and the bad feelings of how you felt mentally, that you've proven that you could play good tennis and you're back to feeling
Yeah.
like yourself?
For sure. I think I'm a more improved and better than I was before the injury. I think it again taught me so much about how much toughness I really have inside of me, how strong I really am. And I really think I'm playing really good tennis, and I think that yeah, I'm just excited to get out there and just keep playing. Like I just want to play. I just like my schedule right now. I'm just playing back to back to back, and I'm excited. I'm excited to push the body and to see how far I can go. And yeah, I'm super lucky to be able to play. So I'm so excited to kind of to see where I can get, by the end of the year also. Yeah, I'm just excited.
Is it, and the last thing I have on that is, are there goals in particular you're trying to chase, or is it just progress? Because it's a tough one, and there's no wrong answer, obviously. But
Yeah,
in your case,
yeah.
which
I've
one?
always been like, I don't really put like a number ranking on anything. And my biggest goal for the whole year, and I've told
Mhm.
everyone on my team, is have a healthy year. If I can just play healthy and I can play, like the weeks I want to play, then I'll be more than happy. And I think that if my game, with the way it's going, if I can play a lot, then good
Yeah.
things are gonna happen. I'm gonna do some really good things on the tour. Um, I think I set, a small goal aside these next couple weeks to try to win the wild card challenge into French. I think that was a goal of mine. And for sure, I'm still going to work for it. Let's see. There's a lot of tennis left to be played, but I think it's good to try to work for that and to see if I can push myself to play a lot of matches and get the most wins out of any American. So I think that would be really exciting if I could do that. And then the rest of the year is all about just continuing to stay healthy, continue to play what I want to play when I want to play. So
That's awesome to hear. And I know you're playing a lot of tennis, and I know the one scheduling issue you have is your brother's wedding, right? Like that's the big
yeah,
one.
yeah,
So
yeah,
he asked you though, right? Is that true? The story that you told is that he said, "Hey, I'm getting married. Like, could you let me know if this
yeah,
works?"
yeah. It wasn't, anytime in the summer I'm like, oh my God, John. Like, no, he's like, I can't
Yeah,
get married in the winter in Cincinnati. Like, it's just too depressing. And I'm like, okay, like that's kind of fair. Like, no one wants to
touche.
like go outside when it's like snowing after the wedding and be like, it's dark or it's cold and rainy.
Yeah,
So I understand. And for me, it's like, it's a once in a lifetime thing. Hopefully this is the only time
hopefully.
there's a marriage there. And
Yeah.
no, I'm so excited. I mean, I haven't been able to go to all of the showers and all the trips and stuff, but the most important thing I told him was like I'll be at the wedding. I'll miss 1 week of grass, but I still have an opportunity to play like 3 events on grass. So it's not the end of the world. And yeah, I'm just really excited for it. I mean, yeah, it could have been some of the other dates, like finals of French Open and Wimbledon dates he was giving me. I'm like, John, like,
Have some
I
faith.
mean, if I'm in the finals, I'm sorry, like,
Yeah.
I can't come. Like, I can't
Yeah.
come to the wedding. So I'm glad he didn't choose those. So yeah,
It's really funny, but we're all rooting for you, Caty McNally. This is a fun chat. Best on going forward and everything. A very, very chill person, as she said here, but also a very tough competitor too. So it's the perfect balance of a tennis player.
yeah.
Caty McNally, this was fun. All the best. Look forward to
Thank
chatting in the
you.
future. But thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
That was Caty McNally. This is the Inside In podcast. Again, available on all your platforms. Just go to Apple, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your shows, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals for the full video episode of this show and others. We've got a lot of great guests coming up, much like Caty McNally, so you're going to have to subscribe and stay in the loop. But for Caty McNally, I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside In podcast. Thank you for listening or watching, and I'll talk to you soon.